Welcome back. Months after electing a new board and making several critical administrative and operational changes, the Eastern Caribbean Collective Organization for Music Rights, ECHO, has appointed Davis Joseph as the new CEO of the organization. Joseph holds an MBA in business and he is a former professor at Monroe College. He also attained the WIPO Academy certificate for a general course in intellectual property. Since assuming office, the CEO has visited St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Dominica.
From day one, I was immersed into the heart of ECHO, which is attending to members' queries and concerns. That was in St. Vincent and in Dominica. I also had the opportunity to meet with a number of stakeholders from the Ministry of Culture, the Police Commissioner, the Intellectual Property Office of St. Vincent, and also a representative from the Association of Music Professionals. In St. Lucia, definitely I hope to meet with the same persons, as the business of ECHO cannot be done in solitude. We have to partner with our stakeholders in order to get it done.
Joseph took up office on the 1st of November 2018. He headed his first official meeting on the 11th of December, where members got the opportunity to be updated on the purpose and outcomes of recent trips, as well as to be informed about recent structural and policy changes of the organization. Sporting enthusiasts are eagerly awaiting the decision for the creation of world-class sporting facilities in St. Lucia as arguments heat up over the proposed National Sports Infrastructure and Action Plan. Both sides of the political divide made their arguments for and against the $24,300,000 project during the recent sitting of the Senate. Solange Alfred tells us more.
The promotion and enhancement of sports has been agreed on by both political parties to be of great importance to St. Lucia. At the recent sitting of the House of Assembly, Prime Minister Alan Chasney brought before the House a motion to allow the Minister for Finance to borrow the sum of $24,300,000 that will be used for the proposed National Sports Infrastructure and Action Plan. Chasney explained that the current sporting facilities that are on island have either been abandoned or have been left poorly maintained, and the implementation of this new action plan will go a long way in the development of sports and sport persons on the island.
Those of us who have been lucky enough to play sports understand those subtle life messages that we learn. The one of teamwork, the one of competitiveness, conflict resolution. And one of the more important ones is discipline. But the discipline only happens when there is excellence, when there is that level of competitiveness. And I always see this in Jamaica, in their athletics program. As a young person coming up, the bar has been set extremely high.
However, the parliamentary rep of Dennery North, Sean Edward, expressed his concern over the proposed plans. Edward highlighted that his concerns were twofold, the first being the use of artificial turf in the building of the facilities, and secondly, foreign companies being used to perform works that locals can do.
But Mr. Speaker, I am vehemently opposed to the government's approach to this particular initiative, where in excess of $24 million, Mr. Speaker, will be paid to a foreign company to undertake the development of sporting infrastructure in this country. And Mr. Speaker, this approach is not right, in my opinion, on two counts. Firstly, this is a government that conveniently represents the interests of the average St. Lucian. And just recently, Mr. Speaker, when we debated a motion for the Dennery North Water Redevelopment Project, the line minister and member for Babonneau, in his presentation on that particular motion, one of the things he said, Mr. Speaker, was that the condition for the loan had to be rearranged or altered with a view to giving the contractors of the valley an opportunity to do the work.
Responding to the concerns of Edward was Parliamentary Rep for Grosley, Leonard Spider Montoute, who assured that in whatever capacity that locals can be used, they will be used.
That, first of all, that Mr. Lockerbie, and that is the foreign concern that is being referred to say that Mr. Lockerbie is being given $24 million to take care of those facilities, that is not true. And every single member in this chamber, Mr. Speaker, including yourself, I would go as far as to say, no, that is not the case.
Montoute also went on to explain that the use of technological advances in artificial turf has allowed the material to mimic that of natural surfaces like grass and no longer pose severe threats to athletes' joints as it once did. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solaj Alfred.
The effects of runoff water, plastics and chemical use on the land are all affecting the oceans. The Soufrière Marine Management Association is urging members of the public to better educate themselves on the best practices for creating a better environment for marine life and by extension for all. With advancements in technology, agriculture and industry, the General Manager of the Soufrière Marine Management Association, Michael Bob, says that a host of issues affect marine life and must be addressed by the powers that be.
Our biggest problem is like grey water. For example, all water's coming like from washing machines. Where does it end up? It ends up in the marine environment. So we have to find ways to be able to stop this. Also with agriculture, piggery, the chemicals that are being used, how can we reduce that flow into the marine space? For example, some of the pictures we have on the wall in terms of desilting the rivers during the hurricane season, the amount of silt that ends up in the river is quite a lot. How do we stop that? So again, it must be linkages with all the other agencies to help improve the marine environment.
Bob went on to state that recent information revealed during World Ocean Day highlighted the biomagnification of plastic in fish. He said that when the populace consumes fish, they're actually consuming plastic as well. He remains adamant that viable solutions like waterway catchments must be put in place to keep marine life healthy. You're watching the Hot 7 Nightly News. Coming up, sports news with Tennyson Glasgow.